Good morning, everybody. Todd Peters here on another edition of It From the Hilltop. Very excited. This morning on the show, we have our fearless band director, Mr. Darren LaPrise. Good morning, Darren.
Good morning, Todd. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Just another day of online learning, online teaching here at West Catholic.
Exciting. Okay, so let's talk about the band first and foremost. So we got the Marching 100. What's it like having developed a band that has grown to over 100 students?
Well, it's awesome for us for a school our size to have that many kids in band. It's a lot of years of hard work from a lot of people. When I first started here at West, it felt like the community was really itching for some more spirit at football games and bigger band and more excitement around pep rallies and all that stuff. And so when we started with just a few kids, we had, I think my first year coming in, I had 8 kids and I recruited my tail off and got it up to 17. And we actually made a marching band out of that and went on the field and everything. And everybody applauded my effort, but it was such a small band. And then it just kept growing and growing and growing. And people had really wanted it to grow. I mean, you could tell there was a lot of help from a lot of different areas, from elementary school principals all the way to the administration here and to the parents and relatives of parents and friends. And so it just kind of boomed over the years, and we've maintained over 100 or near 100 about the last 4 years, and it took us a while to get there. But I think we're pretty consistently in that range, which is really exciting. I mean, that's at least 20% of the school in band.
That's awesome. Is there any thought to renaming it? So if there's 120, is it like the Baker's 100? Or
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Our students are always coming up with clever nicknames and things. And years ago, a student wrote on the back of one of our shirts, "Serving our community one note at a time." And we do a lot of community events, and since then, I mean, we like that slogan so much, we've kind of adopted it for the band, and it's become our slogan. And we have it on the back of our band shirts every year.
when you're talking about the band and being able to teach kids and watch them grow, what's your favorite part about seeing that ninth grader going to that 12th grader? What's the most exciting thing to see in those students?
Well, my favorite part is they come in, they're a little green, and some of them are pretty strong musicians, but they're strong individuals, and they really learn to play as a group. They learn to balance and blend. They learn about playing better in tune and about being part of a team, and that breeds leadership. So as you're seeing them, they're, not only does their musicianship improve because we record our students often. You can go back to recordings when they were freshmen and even concert performances when they're freshmen, and you see how far that they've come when you watch a video when they're seniors. It's just such a difference. Not just year to year or over 4 years, you see that difference month to month, really, which is exciting. And you also see that maturity grow. The personality comes out as students get more comfortable with this group. The leadership comes out, and you just see students blossom into fantastic people, fantastic adults. So when they leave here, you feel good about that. Maybe you had a small part in creating a fantastic person, and I think God calls students to be here. And for some students, this a program like this is essential to for them reaching their potential. And when they leave here, it's always hard to see them go, but it's almost like you're a proud dad when you see them graduate, cross that stage, because you know that they're going to take the future by storm.
Looking at the progression from 8 to almost 120 kids, is there any moment that really jumps out to you, like in that career, where all of a sudden it just one day it hits you and you're like, wow, we really have something special here?
Michelle Coyne, she's a speaker around town, and has done a lot of work for anti-bullying and other things around not only our district but others. she's a fantastic lady, but she wrote me a letter and put it in a card, and it said, all of us parents are standing back amazed at what's going on here, and we just want to tell you how grateful we are to be part of the program and be part of this rise, and what an exciting thing this is. And that was about my third year of teaching, I think. And she ended it with, "I hope you never leave West Catholic." And I kind of made a decision that I didn't want to after that, just to have that kind of support. And it was, not only did she send it, but she had other parents sign it. And it was really awesome. And so that was the first one. And that kind of was a moment where I said, wow, I think we're building something special here.
That's awesome. What about your journey with music? How did it start? What was the first instrument you played? Take us through that path. Kind of what experience did you have?
Well, music's always been in my family. My parents were both musicians first before they had to get jobs that were paying the bills a little bit better when they started to have kids. But my dad was a bass player. He had his own trio in Detroit, and my mom was a vocalist, and that's how they met. They had to play a gig together and got to know each other, and it took off from there for them. But because of that, growing up, my uncles used to, on my dad's side, used to have like jazz jam sessions in the basement, and they would have, it'd be my uncle Jack, who played the saxophone, my uncle Larry, who played guitar. A lot of times they would bring a keyboard player to play, and my neighbor played drums. My dad would play bass and trombone, and my mom would sing, and there'd be, there'd be different people. They even had my middle school band director, who was one of my mentors, Gus Moore, showed up one evening and played, and it was, they would, when I started playing trombone, they would encourage me to join them, and I didn't know what I was doing, but they were so encouraging and awesome about it. And then on my mom's side of the family, they were more of a folk rock type music, and they loved James Taylor and the Eagles and John Denver and that kind of stuff. So I felt like I got both sides, kind of on the pop side of things, growing up in the 70s and 80s, and also on the jazz side of things. And then when I went to school, it just took off. I was the only one actually in my family to continue on through organized band, through high school band and everything. But my brothers and sisters all still sing and play and do music. But I was the only one that did it formally at school. So once I graduated from Centerline High School, playing, I was, at the time they used to have McDonald's All-American musicians, and I was nominated for that. I didn't win it, but I was nominated for it, which was a really high honor. And because of that, I latched onto a group called the United States Collegiate Wind Bands, and did a trip of Europe, and as a junior, and I was 30 days on the road in Europe playing all these concerts. And I came back from that trip as a junior saying, I want to do this for a living. So I ended up trying out at Michigan State, and got accepted there, went there, got my degree. I was in the marching band there, and graduated. And, lo and behold, my first job was a long-term sub job teaching orchestra in Lansing. And I loved it. And they really wanted me back, but I really wanted to teach band. And in fact, they wanted me back so bad that I got a call from the superintendent, who said they now had a band position. But I had accepted the West Catholic position at that time. And, it's a lot. Some people have heard the story, but I was not getting a job, and I was a little worried about it, and I prayed about it. And the next day the phone rang, and it was West Catholic. And so I knew this is where God wanted me to be. And I can go further in depth into that story, but I just knew this was the place. So I turned down the Lansing one, and I've been here ever since.
For aspiring musicians that think that, I want to be in the high school band, but I also really have aspirations to be in a collegiate band, what was that experience like, playing for Michigan State, playing at games, playing in front of those crowds? Take us through that.
It's awesome. And I mean, in our community, our high school band is praised a lot, and people really dig our band. But at a lot of high schools, you don't get that kind of praise, which is one of the things I love about West. But it's so much more when you get to college. You're in a band like Michigan State's marching band, and people see that you're in the band because you're wearing the coat. They stop and ask you questions. They want to tell you you're doing a great job. And some cases, they even want to take pictures with you. And it's they're phenomenal groups. Not only that, you're in the middle of the action. I can remember it was a big game. It was Michigan State versus Notre Dame, and both schools were ranked pretty high in football that year. And so ABC was covering the game, and they had a theme, and they asked us to play it. So we learned the ABC theme, and then live to kick off the show, we were there playing. And ESPN Game Day comes to those big games, and your band is invited. And those are great experiences. And coming out of the tunnel, even though I didn't go to Michigan, I went to Michigan State, but I'm coming out of the big house, out of the tunnel, and it's almost awesome getting booed at that point. And it was awesome. And I got to go into every stadium in the Big Ten on their field, with the exception of Northwestern is the only one I didn't go to. And we went to Notre Dame twice, so and Michigan twice, and it was an awesome experience. And I encourage any student that has any ability to play in high school to try out for those bands, especially if they graduate here from West, because they'll be well prepared. And go do it. It's awesome. And you might think you're too busy, but you're not. I mean, and it's an experience you'll never forget.
Personally, is there anything that you think you got the most out of from band? Like, what have you taken away in your life that you really feel that bands brought you?
Probably the biggest thing is relationships, because band is it really fosters you to look out for others. It fosters a teamwork. It fosters older kids to look out for younger kids. And you, as a younger kid, as you grow older, you learn that, and now it's your turn to be a mentor for somebody else, and to look out for them, and to pray for them and help them when things aren't going so well. Which in any high school, there are always things that come up, whether it be a breakup or doing bad on a test. Having somebody else there is just part of it. And I think you develop these relationships, and some of my students have never left. I mean, they've become almost like my adopted kids. I mean, they assist now, and they're part of the program. We have a staff that is all alumni, have all gone on to college bands and come back, and now they're mentors for our student leaders. So it is that's the biggest thing, is relationships, and you have them for life. And there's most people will say there's 5 people in your life that you can count on one hand, 5 people that are going to be your friends for life. And if you're in band, it's more like 10 or 15, because you just develop those kinds of relationships.
Pivoting a little bit, is there anything that you have, like a hidden talent, anything that you enjoy doing that people wouldn't expect, that people normally don't know?
Yeah, I'm an avid hunter and fisherman, a big time outdoorsman. When I met my wife, her dad was a hunter, and I'd grown up in Detroit, so it wasn't really a hunter, but it fostered my relationship with my father-in-law, who passed away this last year. And so I'm going to continue to be a hunter, and continue to go with my kids, and sitting out in the woods in the quiet, or out on a lake fishing, and it's quiet, and you hear the birds chirping and stuff. I mean, that's kind of where I find my solitude, and I find myself, while I'm sitting in that solitude, meditating and praying, which is always good for all of us to slow down.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the kids, say to the students while they're at home?
I just say, hang in there. I miss all of you, not only my own students, but the students I see in the hallway. So many of you are so friendly, and you say hi to me, and I miss that. I miss the relationships. where I get to high five a student or shake their hand and congratulate them because they got an award for college or scholarship or something. I miss those moments, and I really cannot wait to see everyone again. Everybody hang in there, stay safe, be well, but as soon as these are lifted, let's get together. I miss you all.
What's up, Darren?
What's up?
Shout it from the hilltop. Excellent.
Excellent.